Today I'm going to show you how to make your clay aquarium or terrarium using several techniques. You're going to need a clay mat at your table space. You're going to need clay tools, some tracing shapes, and you'll need a little bit of water nearby. To begin this project, you're going to start by making a slab. The easiest way to make a slab is to just press the clay with your hands, making it into a flat pancake shape. I'm checking the size of my slab to see if it will fit the shape I'm tracing, and I'm checking the thickness with a pencil. After you have it the right size, you can trace around your shape and then carefully cut that shape out. Save the extra clay for later. I'm just smoothing out the edges so that it doesn't have any prickly parts after it's fired. So just get a little water and smooth out those edges with your fingertip. I decided to add little ball feet onto the bottom of my terrarium. So I created the little balls by rolling the clay in my hand, and then I'm going to attach them or join the clay using a 4S's method. So I score the clay first, or scratch the clay wherever the two pieces touch. Then I wet the clay, that's called slip. Then I stick it on and smush it down a little bit, and then I smooth it out. Again, those 4 steps are scoring the clay, or scratching the surface of the clay, slipping the clay, wetting it with water, sticking it down, smushing it a little bit, and then smoothing it out. Next, I'm going to begin adding my details into my terrarium. So I'm pressing a slab so that I can cut out a cactus shape for my desert terrarium. I cut it out very carefully, traced around it on the base, and then I'm using the 4S's again, scoring, slipping, sticking it down, and smoothing it out in order to attach the two pieces of clay. I'm going to create another plant in my terrarium using a coil method. Coils are basically just clay snakes. So I'm making really little coils so that I can create this little plant inside of my terrarium. What are the 4S's I'm using to attach the clay? For my last plant, I'm going to just draw it or scratch it into the surface of the clay instead of adding it on. When I do this, I can also create really interesting textures using different clay tools. So I'm kind of creating a prickly pear cactus using my clay tools. I'm going to create a different texture on each plant in my terrarium so that we can really see the differences between each one. All along I'm using different tools. I'm also smoothing out the surface of the clay and making sure that there are no little pilly pieces of clay left on my terrarium. Continuing to add details, making sure that the edges are smooth, making sure that I can see the shapes that I traced earlier, smoothing out my clay where I want it to be smooth, and adding in those actual textures that make it look like different types of plants and rocks. I wanted my terrarium to look kind of like a glass fishbowl, so I created an opening at the top using a clay tool and just kind of scratching into the surface of it. I'm finishing up my last few details, going back and just double checking my work, adding a few little details here and there, making sure that my clay is smooth, and then I'm going to scratch my name and class code in the back of my clay terrarium. After that, I place it onto the wood board in the center of the table to turn it in. To clean up, you're going to place your finished artwork on the drawing board in the middle of the table. Put all the tools back on the tray, stack your clay mats in the center of the table, and roll any extra clay into a ball. Then heads down, ready to wash hands.